Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to the ninth episode of Rowen Reports with Dr. Robert J. Rowen. Today we welcome to the show Mr. Edward Mann, an expert on the healing properties of bentonite clay. Let us know what you think in the comments of this video, and if you'd like to support this podcast directly, Dr. Rowen is now on Patreon. You can find him there and visit our generous sponsors by following the links in the description below. Now, I would like to leave you with some words by Dean Ornish. Awareness is a first step in healing. Before we jump in, we would like to give a special thank you to our sponsor, PROMOLIFE, bringing you closer to the benefits of ozone therapy. Proudly rooted in the USA, PROMOLIFE is at the forefront of assembling ozone therapy generators designed for both personal and professional use right here on American soil. Meticulously handcrafted and precision calibrated, each ozone generator speaks quality and reliability. PromoLife has simplified the ozone therapy process by offering a complete line of high-quality accessories that allow you to use ozone in ways you never thought possible. Don't miss out and explore the entire collection of cutting-edge offerings at www.promolife.com/ozone. Make sure you use the coupon code in the description of this podcast for an exclusive discount towards your journey to enhanced well-being. I am also excited that our friends at shopc60.com are helping to sponsor this video. If you haven't heard of C60 before, also known as Carbon 60, it is a powerful antioxidant that helps to optimize mitochondrial function, fight inflammation, and neutralize toxic free radicals. I'm a big fan of using C60 in conjunction with your keto and intermittent fasting lifestyle to support the immune system, help your body detox, and increase energy and mental clarity. If you are over the age of 40 and you'd like to kick fatigue and brain fog to the curb this year, visit shopc60.com and use the coupon code in the description for 15% off your first order and take control over your health today.
Okay, well, today is March 30th, 2024. This is Dr. Robert Rowen, and I'm here to interview a gentleman by the name of Edward Mann, who has a company that markets a very interesting product called bentonite or calcium bentonite. And he also markets something called mag ozone, which we'll get into. But the main thing I want to discuss today is bentonite and why people should consider taking this supplement, what it does, and what he's seen with it. So thank you, Mr. Mann, for being on our podcast, and you can begin.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Rowen. Just call me by Edward, and we will explain that we're talking about a very particular, very fine calcium bentonite clay that's coming out of a 43-million-year-old volcano subterranean mine protected by a 2-foot wall of zeolite for 43 million years. So it's untainted by the environment. Neither air nor water has leached, and it is so powerful, the negative charge on it, that when you utilize it inside or outside the body, it encapsulates and pulls out of the body. Actually, it adheres and absorbs and adsorbs. It's called adsorbs. AD like in David, adsorbing to its especially elongated surface, negative ionic magnet surface, all positive ions. So when you run them through your digestive tract alone, you're pulling out all poison. If I poisoned myself more than once in my life, I drank the clay. Within 20 minutes, it reached into my bowels. It gets right in there. If you do it in liquid, or take water after you take a load of the gel that you use for facials or poultices, and you save yourself a lot of problems and finish up with it day after day. Because one time I didn't have any more, and 2 weeks later, that bacteria that I poisoned myself eating rotten food from bologna on a sandwich, tearing the brown off and slamming it in my face. Well, 2 weeks later, after I had run out the first day, I didn't have any more back at those days 20 years ago. And believe me, I had pain like man, my whole gut closed up. And I knew what it was like not to have the clay. Every day, if you poison yourself, You drink it till you get that poison completely out of your gut, because mine closed up. And I could go into a whole story about what the doctor told me and how I fixed it myself with 4 vegetables for 10 days, listening to my associate. He said, don't listen to anybody else.
Well, Edward, let me ask you this. You talked about drinking clay.
Right.
I'm used to clay in grade school as making pottery.
Right.
So what is this that you're drinking clay that we could use for pottery?
Right. It's a little bit different. Now, no, none of the clays are created equal. They're all unique. And there is clays that are made for internal consumption, considered GRAS by the FDA, GRAS, generally regarded as safe for internal consumption. Okay, so there's very big difference between clays, and I've been using this and fell in love with it for over 20 years on everybody, everywhere. It's a lot of people, and for many different things, from abscesses in the mouth, that you pack it in your jaw. I'll show you pictures of my face so swollen, my eyes closed. And at 3 o'clock in the morning, I used a couple of LifeWave patches to get out of pain, but then I packed the clay in my mouth and all outside my face. And the next day, it came to a head. Always, it comes to a head and busts. All of that pus comes out, and it absorbs all of it. You see, clay absorbs all infection. It absorbs and adsorbs to its especially elongated surface 33 times its own weight in positive ionic matter, which is poisons, toxins, unwanted bacteria, viruses, heavy metals, and radiation. We have a 12-step program, what you do in the first 10 minutes to save your life. If there's any nuclear disaster near where you are, what you do in the first 10 minutes. And I don't mind sharing that with everybody. That's a very good thing. But go ahead. I'll stop and let you ask me something again.
Is well, a lot of my readers have asked me about zeolite. What's the difference between zeolite and bentonite? And is there an advantage or disadvantage in efficacy or cost to either one of them?
Yeah, I can provide the zeolite. It's very expensive. They've overpriced it. I think they made it out to be some kind of like magical thing. The calcium bentonite does all the work, heals all the people with diabetic wounds, and they don't need their legs amputated anymore. When I bag their feet with the bentonite clay in a bag with a sock over the bag so you don't have to bandage it. When they have diabetic neuropathy, you'd leave it on 12 hours, maybe air them out 12 hours the next day and put it on 12 again. After 36 hours, all the pain, burning pins and needles, let's see, uh, uh, um, there's a couple other things, but whatever. Okay, it's all, everybody's very amazed that they can't believe that their diabetic neuropathy is now at bay. And the reason why this works, and you don't need to wait until you have diabetic neuropathy. I have my friends do their parents that are old always because of these 3 things. One, it pulls all the blood down to the feet, and so does gravity pull all your disease down to your feet. So when it pulls all the blood down to your feet, it's reoxygenating all the cells in wherever the clay is touching. And it pulls out all positive ionic matter, what I just spoke about, all the poisons. And one more thing it does, through the acupuncture meridians in the bottom of the feet, it realigns all the electrons in the body, and we're electrical beings of circuits. By doing that, you change so much in a person's body. Can we go further? Yeah. The zeolite is they tell you to put 4 drops in a bathtub, and it's going to do, or 4 drops on your wrist, and it's going to do what I'm doing. When I have people do the bentonite clay baths and raise their body temperature up to 104 degrees in a 20-minute bath only, it always has to be, where you measure the temperature of the water, measure the temperature of your body, wrap your body afterwards. What does that do? It opens up all the cells in your body to start discharging their toxins when you heat up the body. Now you're doing hypothermia. But okay, ask me another question, because we could talk a lot. Oh, by the way, one of my clients last year Myrna, she loved the calcium bentonite clay bass, what I was just explaining. So she would buy 50, 75, 100 pounds over and over again. And her husband gets on the phone with me and he says, my diabetic neuropathy is gone. I said, what did you do? You bagged your feet with the clay? He said, no. I said, did you drink the clay? He said, no. He said, I did what my wife is doing, the bass. I said, you're kidding me. Now, this is after 20-something years of never knowing that anybody ever told me this. He said, my diabetic neuropathy is gone. I said, how hot was the water? He said, it was hot. I didn't have a thermometer. And I stayed in it and got, I got very hot. And obviously, you sweat tremendously. I have people get out of the tub and wrap in a beanie, socks, and sweats, and wrap in a blanket and go lay down. I'd like you to fall asleep. I just want all that stuff to be soaking wet when you wake up and you strip it off and rinse your body off in a cool shower or whatever. And the next day, tell me you don't feel so amazing just doing this. And you can do it another day and then wait the next day. You're going to discharge so much toxins are going to come out of your body.
Well, how do you take a clay bath?
Oh, first of all, you want to take this, the vent on the side wall under the faucet's got a little screw in the middle and the vents on the bottom. You unscrew it, turn it upside down with the vents on the top, screw it back in. Real simple. It works on everybody. And tape the top. Well, Mooney said, I didn't listen to you, Edward. I did it a little different. I cemented it. But he was dying, and I had to save his life by doing this. Okay, so the way you take the clay bath is you get a pool thermometer for $2.99. It might have gone up a few cents with inflation from Walmart. You get one, it hangs on your faucet just like it hangs on a string in a pool, and it floats. And you get the water hot. You want to get it up when he said to 116 is what he accomplished, what he wanted to do with. And that way, when you get in that 20-minute bath, since they're not big enough for you to get your head under the water, put your knees up, get your head, and get your head hot first before you let the parasites escape to your cooler part of your body, the brain, when you're in the hot water. So get your head under and leave your mouth open and your nose up, and that's the only thing that should be above the surface. The rest of your head should be getting hot along with your body. It'll do it pretty quick because the hot water's locked, and with 2 to 4 cups of bentonite under the faucet while it's running, and I put an extra little piece of plastic over the drain on the bottom in case anything leaks. I don't want to have to add more water and nothing during the thing. What I do first is I turn on a heater inside the bathroom and close the door and get the air hot. So when I pull the water into the tub, it's not going to cool down because the air's already hot. I don't want it to cool down. And I disperse the fumes of clay right under the faucet. It disperses throughout the tub. If there's any residual on the bottom, just run your hand, shake it as you're running it along the bottom. It all disperses. When you get in the tub, you get your head under the water where your mouth and your nose are up, your knees are up. Once it's hot, your head, put your knees down and go back and forth for 20 minutes. Put your head under, put your knees up, and put your knees down, your head up. It makes sense, okay? 20 minutes is going to feel like an eternity in a hot tub if your mind annoys you. You might want to have something there to distract it, like some music or something. But nevertheless, your body temperature, you need to take it and see what it is in 20 minutes, because that's all this requires is a 20-minute bath. And you need to know what your temperature is. Once it gets up over a certain point, like over 1.2, 101.2, you just killed COVID, okay? So you get it up over 103 and you absolutely killed it, okay? I've done this where everybody else in the house was on prescription meds, and they said, Edward, if you don't take it, your throat's going to close up too, like all of ours. And I looked at them and I felt it. It was hitting me, right? It was really hitting me. And I said, nonsense. I'm not taking none of that garbage. Those antibiotics cause the parasites in your gut to build biofilms.
Well, Edward, you have to let me ask you something here. How do I know that you're talking about two things here? You're talking about raising your body temperature up, and you're talking about bentonite clay. So I'm in agreement with you that
Right.
one of the ways you fight infection and you help get rid of things is to raise your body temperature. In fact, I'm going to be having a podcast soon on a thermotherapy device that raises your body temperature to 103 to 104 in minutes. Now, how do I know that what you're talking about isn't working through thermotherapy rather than clay?
Okay, well, the clay is because it's a negative ionic magnet and it's in the tub, sealing the heat in your body when you're in it in the hot tub. It's sealing the heat in, but it's also opening up the pores where you get the exchange of toxins and it's pulling it out into the clay. It's absorbing it all like it always does. It absorbs all toxins and all poisons, everything you want out of the body. So it's assisting in pulling it out. That's why you feel amazing the next day, believe me.
So, how much clay? I presume that they get clay in a powder form in a big bag, and then they measure out clay to do whatever they want, whether it's
Right.
a bath or drinking
Poultice,
it or a poultice. So,
facials, poultice, drinking it. Yeah. The clay in the tub, 2 to 4 cups is fine. Disperse it
okay,
around. All right.
yep. So you're saying you put 2 to 4 cups of clay in a hot tub, and I presume that the temperature of the tub should be where around 110 degrees.
100. I didn't measure it myself, but when Mooney had to save his life from being bitten with the Middle Eastern gnat, and they only offered him chemo again. He's been in the health field for 40 years. He said to me, Edward, I prayed because they only offered me chemo again and I wasn't going to do it again because the tumor up by his nostril, by his brain, was expanding again. And he said to me, I prayed. And that's when Tony got me on the same day. She got me on the phone. I consulted with him for 45 minutes. And the next call I got back was from Tony 2 weeks later. And she says, he's taking 40 capsules of your Magozone a day. I said, you're kidding me. He's doing what I said. She said, he got a pool thermometer and he's doing the baths. I said, you're kidding me. He's doing what I said? Because I don't expect people to do anything properly. They just don't for some reason, unless they do. If they do, that's different. So anyway, the next time I heard from this situation was about a month and a half later. I 2 phone calls in a row with Mooney, and he's the one who introduced Suzanne Summers to David Schmidt, by the way, and she invested in that company that's done over $3 billion already. We can talk about that someday too. But here's the deal. He says to me, Edward, I didn't do things exactly the way you told me to. I turned the drain upside down. I didn't tape it. I cemented it. He said, not only did I take the 40 capsules 2 days in a row and then use the the catalyst, we'll just call it that right now, and then use the catalyst, he said to me, but after doing the hot bath and getting my temperature up over 104 degrees in the first bath, and in the second one, I got it up over 105. He said to me, after doing the catalyst and 40 capsules 2 days in a row, I did something you didn't tell me to do. I took 40 more capsules 3 more days in a row. And he said to me, Edward, thank you, man. I'm in the best health of my life. We got to get him on these calls and get some get a testimony from him. He'll explain it. I mean,
Well, Edward, you've jumped now from bentonite to capsules. What are these capsules?
oh, okay. That's the magnesium with ozone bonded to it. Ozone with magnesium is an amazing application. So what the magnesium does when you bond ozone to it, it delivers it into every cell of the body because most everybody, according to the CDC, is low on magnesium. Why just use any of the 10 different kinds of magnesium when you can use the best with the ozone bonded to it, and it has a huge oxygen release, but the magnesium is sucked up by every cell in the body when it's depleted, as the CDC says, they vacuum up the magnesium in the cells, and now they're getting the ozone right into the cell, which changes to hydrogen peroxide, which is what your immune system puts out, and reoxygenates the cell to raise the oxidative reductive mechanism of the cell. What's that? Oxidative, where you reoxygenate every cell, and reductive, where you reduce the toxins. And you can literally check it under the microscope from day one, and you could check it with after it gets into your blood, how it clears up your blood and how it puts all disease into remission immediately under the microscope. You can do a live blood crenation test in saline solution and watch how fast it crenates.
Well, that's pretty bold statement. You're saying that this stuff is going to cure everything. And when I hear
never said cure, and I don't say anything about everything. What I do say is we're addressing not symptoms. There's many symptoms in this world, but what we're looking for the symptoms to tell us what the underlying cause is, which is what you're used to dealing with, the underlying cause. There's 5 words that I attribute to the underlying cause and fixing it. Okay, one is detoxification, elimination, reoxygenation, remineralization, and renutritionalization. Those 5 words are the most important words in everybody's life if they want to learn how to be responsible for their own health instead of going to mistrained, the doctors have only been trained in allopathic medicine, cut, poison, and burn.
Well, I can agree. I can agree with all of those points that you raised. So, but let's go back to bentonite.
All right.
So explain, because years ago, there were companies, multi-level companies, expensive companies marketing zeolite. What does zeolite do that bentonite might not do? And why is it far more expensive than bentonite? And what might it not do?
I don't believe there's anything that zeolite could do, and I can make it available to everybody. It's not a problem. I have the same access to it, but I think it's way overpriced. And no, it does not do anything else that calcium bentonite, this calcium bentonite clay that I've been using for 20-something years does. And I think it's like I said, the price is too much for something. They tell you to use just a few drops. Well, I'd rather use the 2 to 4 cups in the bath. I have amazing results from what I do. I don't think that bagging your feet with a couple of drops of that expensive liquid product or whatever they want to give you is going to do the same thing as when I bag people's feet with the clay and when I do the bath. When Ed told me to put 4 drops in the tub for she was about 86 years old. She owned her own health food store. And Donna said in Canada, I think my friend's dying. I said, what are you talking about? She explained to me that she owns her own. She's helped everybody. She's a very strong woman, but get her on the phone. And when I got her on the phone, I had to ask her a few questions. How much water did you drink today? 16 ounces. How much water did you drink yesterday? 16 ounces. How much the day before? 6. I said, you're dehydrated. You need to get to a hospital and get on an IV right away. She said, no hospitals. I mean, dang. I said, you need, all right, so have somebody come to the house and do IV, because Donna told me she knew all about, home care and hospice care and all that. She hesitated and then said, not till Monday. I said, okay, what do I do now? Here's what I'm going to have you do. I want you to draw a hot bath, right? I did this different, by the way. It wasn't with bentonite clay. I want you to draw a hot bath. She said, you want me to draw a hot bath? Yes. I said, I want you to have your children go in the store and go and get hydrogen peroxide 35% and pour a container in the tub with Epsom salts. And she did. And I spoke to her not the next day. That was Saturday evening. By Monday morning, I called Donna and I said, is she alive? And she said, not only is she alive, Edward, she said she had an amazing recovery after you put her in the bath. I said, oh my God, thank you. because my intuition told me that was all I could do to save her life at that moment. So it's a different way. I know that wasn't what you were expecting in that story. In that case, she didn't have anything else, but she did have that in the store, and you know what that can do as well. Okay, it's let's put it this way, it's very effective as well.
Well, you've explained how to do the bath, 2 to 4 cups in a bath, and a high temperature. You want to get the temperature as high as you can reasonably tolerate it.
Look at 116. I think that's pretty good.
Okay.
And that'll seal the cells, seal your skin in hot water, and allow the body temperature to go up quickly. It goes up very quickly once you seal it in with hot water like that. With the clay in it, it's drawing out and pulling out everything and absorbing all the dysfunction that's in your body. So away go troubles down the drain.
Well, let's talk about how to take it by mouth.
All right. Well, what you want to do, why do you want to take it by mouth, first of all? Because people called me when I was on radio shows back in early 2000s from Hawaii to New York, and they would call and we'd open up the mic so they could ask questions, and they would say, I had to stop my herbal detox because every company was selling expensive herbal detoxes. Oh, I had to stop mine right in the middle due to lethargy, tiredness, arrhythmias, palpitations, heart attacks, and strokes from doing improper detoxification. You don't want to detox somebody improperly with herbs and let the parasites that the CDC says are infested, average 2 pounds in average American, over 300 species of parasites that lay trillions of eggs on a daily basis, and they love your body and they want to make it their home. And you start giving them herbals or my Mago Zone first when you have infestations in there, and that's the root cause of all disease in the body, is parasitic infestations, mold, candida, and any of those living things that want to infest your body and stay in there and protect themselves by polymerizing the particulates in your body, heavy metals. When they do that and harden the heavy metals around them and get big enough, they call it cancer. So what you want to do is you want to address the parasites in there without them knowing, because they all have an intelligence of their own. You do not want them knowing you're coming after them. So you go under the radar with calcium bentonite clay in a thin liquid every day, 8 ounces to 10 till you finish the gallon off. You drink 1 gallon is a detox. I do that 3 or 4 times a year. I recommend it to every one of my friends in the United States and in other countries, and they're all following the protocols and they know it's working for many years. So basically, you want to mix 12 ounces of powder with per gallon, because you got 128 ounces, 1/10. So 1 to 10, half gallon, 6 ounces of powder, and always put only half the water in, because you got to shake it, shake it, shake it, turn it sideways, shake it more in the evening, and the next morning, shake it again. Once there's no residuals on the bottom, every time you drink it, you want to shake it, make sure the residuals are mixed in, so you get an even clay, an even drink. There's no taste. It's an earthy thing. It'll absorb any flavor you put with it. If a person absolutely cannot think of drinking clay, or they just whatever, as long as they don't have cancer, give them 50-50 that mixture with apple juice, and it absorbs the apple juice taste just like an apple juice smoothie. Remember, they use clay as thickeners in chocolate milk. They put it in kaopectate. They put it in the pink stuff, Peptol, Bismol, just different kinds of clay. There's many different kinds.
Pepto-Bismol is a clay?
There's clay in there, yes.
Okay.
Yes, and in kaopectate, yes. We use clay to either tighten or loosen the bowels. Depends on how you administer it, okay? But once you send in the clay, under the radar, it encapsulates all that rotten putrefaction and those parasites, where their excrements are toxic. You heard of leaky gut, where it cracks through all of that plaque that's on the lining walls that are 1 cell thick. It leaks through into the blood, and it's synonymous with leaky brain. So leaky gut and leaky brain are the same. What we're doing is cleaning out the parasites, and they don't even know it. They're like drunk on the clay, and they just get pulled out of the body. I'm gonna change for 1 second. I'm gonna tell you a little story, and then we'll come back to how you do it more. But Susie, Doc Mike put her on the phone, like, I don't know, 15, 20 years ago, put her on the phone in Arkansas. He said, do you think you can help her? She's got worms inside of her from eating the watercress, and I guess out of the lake at the property there in Arkansas. And I said, oh, I don't know. Let me see where her head's at. Let's get her on the phone and see where her head's at, whether I can help her. So we did. I shipped 50 pounds to her roommate. He wanted 50 pounds. 3 years later, I get a call from her, and she knew every company there was with every supplement there was. That girl knew more about supplements and companies and and she says, I still got the worms. I said, wait a second, Susan. You're telling me you never got rid of the worms when I shipped that clay to your roommate? Yeah, she said, I left there. I said, so wait a second. How did you drink the clay? And she hesitated to answer. And I realized she's not going to answer. I said, Susan, this is what I want you to do. You follow my directions, and you will have the exact results I'm telling you that you want. You drink 1 glass of that clay till you finish that gallon every single day. You eyeball 8 to 10 ounces at that mixture. And she calls me back 2 weeks later, and she says, Edward, you can't believe what come out of me. She said, ew, it was like, ew. And she starts describing it. Oh my God. I said, Susan, it's all right. Don't worry. I get it. And, I already know what's coming out of everybody. Everything they don't want in their body is eliminated. And that's the start. And then when we got to break down the crystallized plaque on the colon walls and get rid of all of that biofilm. You know, the biofilm that the parasites build to protect themselves from all of the, oh, come on, Edward. The antibiotics. Well, as soon as you put antibiotics in the body from meat, from anything, and a lot of those pharmaceuticals, they're protecting themselves. So they build this biofilm. What is that? It's canals they live in. And when the biofilm gets too much in the gut, it starts spreading into the lungs, becomes chronic bronchitis, COPD. It goes into the organs and starts really deteriorating your health, okay? So what you want to do is you want to be able to break down that biofilm in your gut and your lungs and get rid of everything that is plaguing you simply by getting to the root cause, not addressing the symptoms, addressing the root cause that's causing all the symptoms of dysfunctional health, all the inflammation, everybody suffering because they don't understand that they're only addressing symptoms in the allopathic medical system. They're not addressing the root cause. Okay, so let's say you drink the clay. After you drink some of it, now you can increase herbs that go in your body or the magnesium ozone that you mentioned. And we have it in capsules. It's simple. What is it? What does that do? That is going to reoxygenate every cell in your body. It's going to break down with the 3 enzymes that are in it. First of all, it's the most powerful enzymatic action ever. Magnesium with ozone bonded to it releases the powerful oxygen into your digestive tract that goes right into your blood. And it is unique. You don't need diatomaceous earth to address any of the crystallized plaque on your colon walls that you need to clean out. I've had friends of mine that went for colonoscopies, and the doctor says, what are you doing? I've never seen a colon this clean. And Ed Clemens said, I just use Edwards Clay. That's it. And I said, Ed, you don't mind I mention your name on my radio shows in Hawaii, New York, and Chicago? And I tell him what you told me. He says, no, I don't mind. He says, as a matter of fact, let me tell you, I just had another colonoscopy at 85. It was 5 years later, and the doctor told me the same thing. I said, stop getting them. They can perforate your colon. Anytime you have polyps of the colon, you want to, or any kind of dysfunction in your digestive tract, you definitely want those polyps taken out. So you put the bentonite clay in it. It'll loosen up the polyps. It'll get rid of. By the way, colon cancer is the easiest cancer of all to address. We're not going to address it completely right here. Dr. Rowen really knows about that one, okay? There's no question. And it's the easiest one to address if you don't lend yourself to standard care, because they will cut you, butcher you, chemo you, radiate you, and put one of those colostomy bags on you. And they've done it to friends of mine that I told them, why didn't you call me first? Well, I tried to find Dr. Freebot's number. I said, why didn't you call me? He died. Anyway, no one should go for surgeries first. That's ridiculous. Cutting out things is usually not necessary. We can fix it by piling the clay. Even if you have toxins in any part of your body, you pile the clay over it, and it draws and pulls out the toxins by piling it on your midsection or your abdomen. It shrinks the prostate. I have people bag their whole private area there with plastic bags, and they put that nice, thick, beautiful gel, 2 parts water to 1 part clay mixture. It gels in 6 to 12 hours. And you pile it, you put a plastic bag on, like one of those supermarket shopping bags, and you poke a hole in the corners of each bag and put your toe through each one and pull it right up to your buttocks. And you've piled the clay inside. You can put either a belt around it with 2 loop hooks, the kind women wear, and you can just pull it tight. Or one man suggested to me, he says, this was just a few months ago, I'm going to use my exercise shorts for riding bicycles, those tight ones, and that'll hold it all in place. I said, man, that is great. After all these years, you come up with that. I never stop being advised by the people I work with. They always come up with things. Everybody comes up with things because the Creator gave us all creative abilities that is able to create new things. What else? Ask me a question. So now,
well, Edward, you're running all around with this right now,
right?
and I wanted to keep this. I mean, what you just said, I would be afraid to even say, because you're saying, colon cancer, don't have it taken out. The guys like me, we're taught.
Well, you know that rectal insufflations with ozone work amazing, and injections of ozone clean out the liver too, right into the veins. I'm sure what you oversee, that you are more familiar with these applications and experienced at them than my knowledge. And I just study with all the people that know about it and learned all this, and was directed to read it all by Dr. Freebot, who was introduced to me as one of the most brilliant chemists in this country many years ago.
Well, for the listener, I knew George Freebot. He's passed away, and he was one of my instructors as well. And he believed very strongly in a product called Homozone that was invented by Dr. Blas. And evidently, you have that product, and you call it Magozone.
I changed the name, yeah.
And I will admit that I really like that product. It's probably a magnesium peroxide, and I like that product very much in terms of its beneficial effect on cleaning out the gut, and also giving you one of the most important minerals we need, which is magnesium. But let's go back to bentonite.
One thing I want to clear: it's a magnesium oxide, peroxide, trioxide, is how it's explained to me from the chemist that manufactures it in one of the top 3 enzyme labs in this country. Because what we did was just make it better. You can always, if you can figure a way to improve things, you do it, right? You always keep an open mind, and it's called CUNI, constant and never-ending improvement. Deming when MacArthur took him over to Japan after World War II. He had him resurrect the whole country. They ended up with all the electronics business. He did so good, Deming. Kunai, constant and never-ending improvement, and everybody should adopt it into their life.
Okay. So that's mag ozone. And again, I want the listener to know that I like mag ozone and I'm actually taking it myself.
Before we jump back into our discussion, I want to give a quick shout out to PROMOLIFE. If you haven't heard of them, they're leading the game in ozone therapy. Crafted with care right here in the USA, their ozone generators are top notch. Beyond that, they've got a full lineup of accessories that truly opens up the world of ozone in innovative ways. Support this podcast and check out what they have to offer at www.promolife.com/ozone. And as a little perk for you, our listeners, there's an exclusive discount code waiting for you in the podcast description.
Go back to the bentonite clay now.
Certainly.
You talked about baths, you talked about mixing it up in water and drinking some every day. And why don't you talk a little bit about using it as a poultice for various things and what you've seen with it?
All right. It's amazing. That's what I was explaining. You want to mix it only in 2 parts water, and it doesn't matter what size as long as it's equal 1 part powder. You stir it with anything but metal utensils, because if you were to leave a metal utensil in clay, it not only pulls all the metals out of your body, it pulls it right off the spoon, and you'll leave it rusted. So don't use metal utensils unless you wash it immediately, so you don't ruin the finish on your product. Okay. That being said, you'll leave it lumpy probably, but within 6 to 12 hours, it'll gel completely smooth like sour cream. I use the big 1 pound salad containers that I get at the store that has my spring mix in it. And when I empty them out, I save them to make my clay in, because I like to make enough that I could bag my feet, maybe, that I can put on to a certain part of my body if I'm going to utilize it like that. Yes. What does it do? It pulls all positive ionic matter out through. Let's say you made a poultice and you put it on. The man broke his knee 40 years ago, broke his leg, and he's the weatherman. I'm the weatherman. I'll tell you when it's going to rain. I can feel it right here in my knee, my leg. Not after Edward teaches him to wrap the poultice, wrap it thick around the injured leg that was injured, and let's pull all the scar tissue, which is heavy metals that goes there naturally to heal internally and externally. Remember, bentonite clay removes all scar tissue, which is what keloids are made of. And if you look them up, there's millions of pictures on the internet with keloids all over people's bodies. It just removes them all scar tissue that's raised above the surface of the skin. When you wrap it with the bentonite clay over and over again, it'll bring it all down to the surface of the skin and lighten it up where it was dark, like it looks like it needs a suntan, and leave it nice. And it does this. It pulls out all acne out of the face, out of your body, or poisons. It also, when you put it on, that's as a you can put it on as a poultice, yes, when it's serious, but as a facial, you would mix it different. Let me finish up with the poultice, and then we'll talk about the facial, how it evens out the color in everybody's face. When they have dark spots, age spots, that's all toxins coming out of your body. Even when you put on a lot on your arm, let's say you had psoriasis, eczema, shingles, and all of a sudden I get a call, Edward, I put it on my shingles on my arm, and now my whole arm is getting it everywhere I put the clay on. I must be allergic. No, you can't be allergic to bentonite clay. It's non-allergenic. It's totally antiseptic. It is the bandage itself. You never need anything but the bentonite clay to put on burns, and it regrows the skin overnight. It cools it down right away, and the skin is regrown overnight, okay? The psoriasis, I tell them, no, it was just pulling out the rest of it from under your skin. It gets it all out because you didn't realize it didn't all surface. It was over there too. So you got to realize how it's working, what it does, and utilize it properly, not just any old way. Utilize it with intent. When the man needed his legs amputated down in Puerto Rico, I made him put that clay on his legs every day, every day. And I said to him, you want to make a lot of money? Keep putting it on until you pull off that tattoo out of your leg, okay? Because I got a guy that I can't remember his name. They're very famous, okay? He said, if you prove to me you can take that positive ionic ink out of people's body with clay, I'll make you $1 million just on that, okay? And so he starts pulling it out. Well, every day he starts getting better. Now he's telling me I can walk, I can do this, I can do that. I'm going for long walks at the beach every day. And I said, good. He says to me, one day he calls me and he says, Edward, these big rings are all over my legs. Let me show you the picture. All these hookworms, whatever came out to the surface of his legs after putting it on repeatedly, day after day after day after day, it started pulling out all the disease from deep inside his body. And it is not a joke, this is very incredible how the bentonite clay works. And that's why I am so in love with it. And so many of my friends, Dr. Rowen, I'll introduce you personally to some of my friends. Let them tell you how in love they are with how they use the bentonite clay all the time. It's amazing. It's a lot of it's women. Women they just love this clay.
Well, you mentioned doing facials with it, and now you've mentioned women, so let's hear about facials.
All right. 3 parts water, 1 part clay. Always put the water in first, because that way you're not pushing it where the dry clay is stuck on the bottom of the water and you have to scrape it off. And throw the powder in afterwards, mix it up, no metal utensils, and let it set for 6 to 12 hours. In a 3 parts water to 1 part clay. It makes it thinner. So when you put it on your face, you just kind of get a thin coat all over your face. When I first put it on my under my eyes, when I very first got it, it made them blow up the balloons under my eyeballs, right underneath. I said, oh my God, I must have pulled toxins from my feet, from my toes, right out of my eyes. So I didn't do it again for a long time till after I drank a bunch of clay. My son kept coming to me and bringing me glasses of the clay. He's the one that turned me on to it, taught me all about it. He knew amazing people in his life before anybody knew that. He was amazing anyway. Here's the way it works. You put it on a light coating on your face. You don't use a dryer and don't go in the wind. Just let it dry naturally on its own. After about 15 to 20 minutes, it's going to be so tight, your lips, you'll barely be able to talk, even with a thinnest coat. It doesn't matter. That's how it pulls everything out of your skin and your pores. Even if you have bags under your eyes, those are all little pus pockets. It's going to absorb them all. It's going to start pulling the pus out of every pocket in your face. What it did for me the very first time I utilized it, I used a convex mirror and I looked. I had that wrinkle in between my brows from frowning, from intensity, okay? And I had boils all over my face. When I was 14, I worked in a gas station and I used to go for facials every single week in the barbershop right on the way home, once a week, to pull out all the blackheads that were in my skin. And so I had these boils that built up. So I had a ruddy complexion at the time. What I did was, after I took it off the mask, I looked in the mirror and I couldn't believe it. Not only was that groove come way out, but my face looked amazing. I said, what the hell? I did it 2 more times that day, Dr. Rowen. I couldn't believe it. Amazing. Every woman that puts it on drops 10 to 15 years and more the first time they use it, every time. I have Carol, she says to me, I got one of those chins under my chin. Will it help that? Go ahead and use it. Watch how it tightens it up. You're going to love it.
All right, does this compare, when you hear about women getting facial masks at the beauty parlor, is this the type of thing that it is?
In the finest, this has been utilized in the finest spas on the planet, I'm telling you, by stars and everything. Yes, this is very, very helpful for everyone. And when you put it on somebody's head, on their hair, and put a cap over it, they all tell me my hair is amazing, but it also does more to the scalp and the pores in the scalp. For instance, when Pastor Stewart, which I'll introduce you to him, introduced me to Jeremiah from Georgia with a tumor the size of his fist in his head, we got on the phone. I found out, talked to him. Well, just recently, I put him on the phone with James Clark, Pastor Stewart, and he starts talking, and I hear him say to James Clark, after they talked about all the musicians, they actually personally knew the famous ones, and I just was a fly on the wall. And he says, well, that Jeremiah, I want to tell you, he's back working. He don't have no tumor in his brain no more. I told him to put that mud on his head, and I told him to take that red clover and take that magozone, and he don't have no tumor in his brain no more. Okay, Pastor Stewart is, I'm going to introduce you to him. He's a very gifted herbalist. You're going to love the man. I love my friends. Okay, and he helps me if I need help with a client, so they'll listen a little better because we're on the same page. That helps a lot. You know, whenever two or more agree upon anything, it shall happen, good or bad. Well, the client's not always in agreement, but when you have other people helping that actually know that what I'm talking about is really true, it helps a lot.
Well, you've said a lot here, and you said a lot of things that some people are going to find hard to believe. You know, if 10% of it was true, it would be, and I'm not saying that
I
any of
haven't
it is true.
started yet.
Stop, Edward. If 10% of it was true, that's pretty impressive. And I can't say that any of it is true or is not true. I just know from talking with you in the past, you're really hot on bentonite and what it can do. On your website, I have seen a booklet of all of the uses of bentonite clay. And you want to tell the listener what your website is?
It's a free booklet on the history of bentonite clay. Yes, there are documents on proper protocols and utilization of the bentonite clay and the magozone. I spend a lot of time perfecting the documents, so it makes it easy for lay people and professionals to understand the utilization of these applications. Go to abchealth.info.
abchealth.info.
Yes, and that'll take you to the main page, magozone. And if you go to the store, it'll take you directly to pure bentonite clay. You can read on the magozone right there on that page, but then you can go to the bentonite clay, and you can go under resources and find documents on both those products right there. You'll find videos, how to mix them. Sheree and Amy did a beautiful job in that beautiful kitchen with that Christmas tree, and they love the clay. And you could tell when they explain how they mix it, what I explained today, they're doing an actual video. It's great. I was really appreciative of what they did for us.
So that's a video that they can find on the website, correct?
Oh, yes. There'll be many more about the bentonite clay and the magnesium ozone. There are very good documents on every ingredient in it, what it does, how it does it, and why it's doing what it does, and helping people.
Okay. Edward, do you think we got out of this what we need about the bentonite, or do we need more?
Let me think of something else, but we got a lot of points across. I've done seminars for 3 hours that we had to cut short because it was 12 midnight on the East Coast during the week, and I couldn't keep people that long, and they didn't want to hang up anybody. So yeah, back in let's see, 1999, I met Ron Brown, and then later on, I had some of the homozone, and I had the bentonite clay, and his parents were cognitive dysfunction, Alzheimer's, and had serious health issues. And within 7 days of taking the magnesium ozone, 7 to 14 days, that helped clear up all of that cognitive dysfunction. And he was able to keep his parents alive for many years longer because of it until I went broke back then many years ago. He was broke. I couldn't get any of the magnesium ozone, and there was nothing I could do for him. And after years, his health deteriorated. Their health deteriorated and they died. But he said, you know what? Because of you, Edward, I got 8 years more out of both my parents. My father didn't leave, I think it was until 96. Now I have a friend that Ed McCabe introduced to me. His name is Carl Vollmer, and he's 95 years old in perfect health. I'll send you videos of him out dancing. You got to see his moves. And my friends say, I want to be able to dance like him at 95 in health like him. No cane, no more problem with his bone in his knees. He told me, he said he's been putting the more Mito gel and the Restore on his knees, and it's fixed him. I recommended him to utilize it, and it's working miracles in his life. He said to me, he's been taking it inside his mouth for 16 months. He said, Edward, my memory at 95 is better than it's ever been in my life. He said, I'm a firm believer in this. Whatever, I got a bunch of people underneath him. He makes money, and he pays for his products, and he's happy. And he buys $1,000 worth of silver every month. His name is Carl Vollmer, and you'll like him when you meet him. You're gonna like him. He's a good kibitzer.
Okay.
When I met Carl, it was because Ed said, I got 3 friends, I need you to help them. So I get on the phone with Carl. He said to me, the doctor just removed 2 of my toes from my foot, not because I don't have good health, I'm in perfect health, but a hose was put from my hip down to my toes years ago in a forklift. I had an accident. Okay. So the problem, here's his challenge. He has to go back every day to redress the wounds from the 2 toes that are missing from next to his big toe. You got the picture, right? Okay. So I said, nonsense. First thing out of my mouth when he says I have to go back to the doctor every day to dress it, I said, nonsense. And this is in 2021, I think it was. Okay. So I said, do what I tell you to. And he says, overnight me some of that bentonite clay and ship me the rest of the package regular, priority mail. And the next phone call I got from him, after he utilized it in the morning, he said, Edward, you're right. I washed the clay off and all the swelling is gone. All the redness is gone and it's skinned over. The thing is skinned. I said, okay, let it air out all day for 12 hours and do not bang that foot today. You understand me, right? He said, yes, I understand. And do it 4 more times. Put it on for 12 hours overnight, 4 days in a row. Just like the man that shot his hand, it healed perfectly. Absolutely beautifully. Same thing when you burn yourself. It'll cool down that burn and reskin it overnight. You'll be fine. They should have it on every ambulance and fire truck everywhere.
I could agree with that. Unfortunately, since it's something that comes out of the ground and not made by pharma, that's not going to happen.
Or they can't patent it and own it. That's what everybody does. They come up with all these formulas you drink with a little bentonite clay in it and all this other stuff in it so they can own it. No, just use the plain bentonite clay. It's a miracle in itself. It's what they call the white gold of the future. That's what it's been described at. I looked up, I have so many qualified agencies around the world and documentation, like from the World Health Organization, how it affects the flesh-eating disease, and it's the only thing that the woman, it's on the website, it's the only thing the woman found that actually absorbs the bacteria and the virus from the flesh-eating disease. That's actually like leprosy from years ago. You might as well call it leprosy. It's the same family, okay? And it regrows the skin. It kills the virus, the bacteria that's on the skin, and it's the only thing that really does it. And it works on every kind of skin disease, rattlesnake bites, hundreds of different things are listed in the documents that it works on. When my friend got bitten by a black widow spider, He ran the United States Marines, Colonel Boyer, for 12 years, running special ops in 50 wars that we never even heard the words of. He's a killer, and he got bit by that black widow spider again. The first time before I ever met him, he ended up in the hospital. He's almost died. And he said to me, Edward, I just got bit by a giant black widow spider. What do I do? You want me to drink the clay? I said, no, stupid. Pile it on top of the bite so it pulls the stupid poison out before it gets all the way into your blood. And you can drink it also. Go ahead, drink it also. That's what I said to him. And the only reason I said that, because that man is a big man. What a man. Oh, my God. Powerful, too. And he said, thank you. You saved my life. When I first treated him, he was sleeping in his car, and at 3 o'clock in the morning, I went and wrapped his legs. He had giant thunder legs, okay? And from his knee to his ankle, they were all brown. And I knew right away it was all toxin on the surface of his skin. So I wrapped all his legs in the Bentonite Clay, and he ends up going to the VA, and he tells the I think it was the general or one of the top doctors there that he visited. How come for 2 years you haven't been able to get rid of this? And this man's not even a doctor. And look at it all coming off my legs. Why? Oh, my God. That started something. He was not happy with the VA at that point. And since he was a colonel just under a general, they never let him become a general because they needed him on the field jumping out of helicopters. And that's when I told him, when he said to me, I'm on 180 to 360 milligrams of morphine a day. I said, well, you can't come over here. I can't get you out of pain unless you get off the morphine for 24 hours. He came over, and I witnessed them come out from Atlanta, and they put some of those devices on him. And within 5 minutes, he figured out where to put him. Roy, the little tiny guy that stood next to him and looked like a midget and a giant. And he walked over to me and he said, Edward, I don't effing believe this. I am completely out of pain. I was standing with 15 other people in the foyer because the living room was packed with 45 people. And I hear Diane say, I can move my arm all the way around. I can go kayaking. Oh, my God. In 1 minute, they found it. And I've been doing it ever since. I started doing so many people because it was like magic to me. You can get people out of pain right in front of you anywhere. Are you kidding me? I just do it over the phone sometimes. Anyway, it's a different subject. And when the man came to St. Louis and he said he's coming to my place, he got hit by a tractor trailer. That's what happened to Diane, why she couldn't go kayak. They broke her shoulder. She couldn't get it operated on. But this man in St. Louis, I said, when he comes over, since your brother has those devices and doesn't know what to do with them, get me on the phone. I'm going to show you what to do with them and watch what happens. Within 15, 20 minutes, we're finished. The man leaves, and I get a call back a few minutes later. And he called the gentleman that I'm talking to that I told to patch up his friend. He says to me, my friend just came back up the stairs. He knocked on the door, and he says, I don't even need my cane. I'm not in any pain at all. He says, Edward, you blew my mind. And I did it all over the phone. And I realized it doesn't take a lot. If people really want to know the truth, it's easy to deal with them. If they block the truth and they act like knuckleheads, then it's hard to deal with them.
Okay, Ed, I want to close this with you reiterating those 5 points about how to get the body to do what God intended it to do.
Right. You always want to keep focus on detoxification. I just add the 5th. It's called elimination. Because if you're going to detoxify, you better eliminate. So it's detoxification, elimination, reoxygenation, absolutely essential, renutritionalization and remineralization. And that is the root underlying causation of all dysfunctional health. Pretty much that's where it's at. If you raise all of those, the body will fix itself. You give the body the opportunity to fix itself by detoxifying, reoxygenating, remineralizing, and renutritionalizing. And don't forget elimination. You want to see all of that coming out into the toilet, all of those worms, parasites, all of that stuff. If you ever left, Dr. Rowen, a bag of meat or stuff on the counter and left it there and forgot about it, after about a week, you'll see all these tiny little worms come out of it. I mean, thousands of them, right? Well, it's the same thing if you use a compost toilet and you leave it long enough. That's coming out of your rectum has got parasites in it and eggs. And if you leave it long enough, you can check what I'm telling you. You watch, and those things get bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's what's coming out of your body. That's what is causing all disease in the body. Other occupants want to occupy it, and you got to do an eviction on them without letting them know you're coming. You want to go under the radar with the clay, clean them out, and then go deeper into the cells. Do one step at a time to detox. Then you go into the tissue cells and start opening them up and detoxing them.
Very good. Well, I think we've left people with a lot of things to consider, certainly, and I'm in agreement. You've got a very powerful agent here that's cheap, literally dirt cheap. It's from the ground, earth, and it's dirt cheap, and it can be used to detoxify internally, externally, wounds, poultices, and make your face look younger too. And if they want to try this stuff out, once again, tell them where to go.
Just go to abchealth.info and look at the store, and you'll see pure calcium bentonite clay.
All right, I have a question I know I'll be asked. How are they going to know that this bentonite clay isn't already containing some lead or heavy metals?
Oh, no, I have all of the lab reports. That was from the beginning, okay? And that's why I've never had problems in more than 20 years with anything. That clay is, everybody loves it. I can't help it. Everybody that utilizes it absolutely tells me it is the best. And when your clients or people that you know they'll be telling you the same thing. You'll see. You watch.
Okay, thank you. I mean, what an enthusiastic interview. Clearly, you absolutely believe in the product, and I'll let the viewer know that I'm using it. Terry and I have some. We made up the gallon jug that you talked about, and we've each done it. And I plan to do more because I happen to believe that this product can help detoxify.
It isn't just the product. You must do and know the proper protocols, applications rather, and then now that product becomes valuable if you know what to do with it. It doesn't matter. You know that Homozone you talked about? When I first got it from Ed many, many years ago, 4 containers sat on my shelf for a year. I had no idea that it would be my #1 product for the rest of my life. I did not know until I knew about it. I had to study and learn. And why? What is it? What does it do?
That's why I like, Edward, that's why I like your site, because you've got some pamphlets, booklets in there that explain a lot about this, and that makes it really easy for the viewer.
Oh, yeah, and I'll send them to testimonial places, too. There's a button to click on there where they can go to an old site I have with all the testimonies and all the news articles from the Los Angeles Times, from all the different colleges about the bentonite clay, NASA about the bentonite clay, how it stops osteoporosis from the weightlessness, the extreme weightlessness. When you drink it, you're going to benefit from it. You're going to actually have amazing benefits. That's how I feel. That is my total understanding and feelings of it, and it's not going to change. It's been like that for many years.
And I'll also add that it has no taste. It's actually, there's no unpleasantness to drinking this.
Oh yeah, and it's alkaline. Everything I'm doing raises the alkalinity of your body out of an acid state, which is disease prone, because disease only festers in a low oxygen, highly acidic state. When you raise the alkalinity of the body properly, and not by drinking 9.5 water for more than 2 weeks, that will corrode your organs just like it does the plastic. You want to just raise all the alkalinity and stop making your body acidic by mixing carbohydrates and meat flesh products. Stop eating. See, the meat flesh products are acidic, and so is all of those grains that you're adding to it that are carbohydrates and cause the meat to rot before it even hits the liver. It starts fermenting, and the liver cannot process fermentation. So it will take that fermentation and store it, the toxins, and create fat to store it in. And then when all the fat comes down into your blood, it clogs it gets into the oxygen receptors, or the receptors that feed energy to your body. Now your body's running off of the fats and the oils, and it will run. It's called keto, and everybody's heard about it. It will run on fats. But the moment you put in carbohydrates, meatballs and spaghetti, rice with fish, into meat flesh products, once your body's running on fat, the fat got in your blood and it clogs the receptors. No sugar can get in them. Now your body's running on fat. So now you put sweet sauces on there. You drank sweet drinks. You had dessert with your Thanksgiving dinner. So you really, really screwed things up, because that sugar can't get into the cells, and it stays in the blood. You're raising your blood sugar. What does that do? When you raise your blood sugar, it causes insulin surges. Insulin. It doesn't work. Hours, insulin. What does that do? Thrashes your arteries. By thrashing your arteries with insulin surges constantly, everybody's pre-diabetic and diabetic, and it's because of improperly mixing the food. So let's get everybody a food chart and learn how to mix your foods properly. You'll live longer and healthier with no disease, and not have to do tons of supplements and all kinds of things in order to fix yourself, because you already let yourself get too far. Can we fix it fast? Yes. Can you fix and straighten out diabetes within 30 days? Yes, if you do the proper protocols and put the right things in your mouth instead of the wrong things. And all that cholesterol that's there to feed your brain and your organs now have to go to bandage up the thrashed arteries that you've been thrashing from surging insulin. And by the way, all of those products in the middle of the stupid market, they're not food. That is simulated food, and you're eating all the wrong salts that's in your guacamole and your salsa, 4,000 milligrams in a 16-ounce bottle. I never bought them again when I read the label. I stopped buying them because those salts are going to thrash your arteries. So now the cholesterol has to go there to bandage up your thrashed arteries, and causes hardening of the arteries, calcification, arterial sclerosis. All we need to do is do the right thing. Stop working against the body by mixing your foods improperly, and get the magnesium ozone in there to break down all the plaque in the arteries and make them soft and supple. With the potassium that's in the magle zone, it draws all the water into the bowels to flush the bowels, but it also helps break down, soften, and uncalcify the arteries, so that you can be like me. So they can all be soft and supple again. I had my stroke in 1999 loading that big bobtail truck, and I dropped those big giant 12-inch double 12s KLH speakers in those thick cabinets, and I couldn't bend my elbow with more than 2 pounds, and I couldn't raise my hand from that time on above my ear. I could no longer use my left arm. I had a serious stroke. I never went to the doctors. I never went to their hospitals, because I read a book 5 years before that told me don't ever go to those people. They will recommend surgery, and they will recommend pharmaceuticals that will destroy your life. In the book, 28 Days to Better Health, what's his name? Oh my God, I'm missing the title. It'll come to me in a second, okay?
That's okay, Ed. But listen, Ed, we're pushing the time now.
Okay.
So I think,
But
Edward,
it told me never go to the doctors and never go to the health. Never go and take their medicines. So I flew in to meet with Ed McCabe on behest of Larry, And that's where my education became. He said, come in here and meet with this man. He's doing health shows. So I did. And I spent 2.5 weeks with him and his wife. And I learned, and I took back a dozen of those books, Flood Your Body with Oxygen, that talks about all the bio-oxidative therapies. And I started studying, and the book was an easy read. I read all 600 pages. 2 years after I got him, I didn't even read it right away. 2 years later, I laid down on the couch. I couldn't stop reading the book until I finished it. As soon as I got up, I lay right back down to finish reading that book. Boy, it got me. Well written.
Very good. Edward, once again, thank you for coming on, and I will be talking with you soon as we get more into bentonite.
As we conclude today's episode, I'd like to give another shout out to our sponsors over at shopc60.com. If you haven't heard of C60, it's an antioxidant known to enhance mitochondrial function and combat inflammation. Many sync C60 with their keto and intermittent fasting regimens, seeing a boost in energy and clarity. If you're past 40 and looking to refresh your vitality, explore shopc60.com, and don't forget to use the 15% off code down in the description for your initial purchase. Thank you for listening to this conversation with Mr. Edward Mann. If you found this conversation inspiring, please share it with your friends, family, and colleagues. Until next time, stay safe and be well.